Hi everyone, thanks for taking interest in today's WCC Wiki Colloquium. My name's Adam Parker, I'm one of the editors who contributes towards editing Wikipedia Forum, and I'm here to talk my presentation today about notability. Notability criteria exist as one of the sort of rules of Wikipedia. Wikipedia is many things, it's got so much incredible information on there, but it is not a repository for all human knowledge. It's therefore not a space for everyone who is living or who has ever lived to necessarily have articles about them that exist there on the encyclopedia. We are focused on biographies, which is one of the categories of articles for which notability is a really important part. Notability sort of underpins your inclusion in the encyclopedia, and there are certain rules that govern what notability is. It's quite well defined, and we're going to introduce some of these and then chat about some case studies. Notability is important, particularly for new editors, because we want the contributors to our project to feel welcomed and to feel appreciated and to feel that their work is making a difference to making the internet less sexist, to making Wikipedia more inclusive, and to have our interests in classics, ancient history, archaeology, just to be more forefronted. One of the big pitfalls with notability is when users are creating new articles that they can fail notability tests, and that's one of the quickest ways that articles can get deleted. Having an article deleted is really dispiriting for new editors, and we want to try and avoid that. So hopefully by chatting through this sort of introduction to what notability is and how you can meet it, we will avoid some of those issues. Okay, so let's jump straight into looking at this on here. We're going to be using the English language Wikipedia. Some of the other different language Wikipedias may have slightly different rules that govern how the articles work within them, but all this information is going to be purely about the English language one. So click on that and welcome to the Wikipedia homepage. This might be quite familiar to anyone who's seen it. Now, there are a whole series of pages hidden behind Wikipedia about how it works, about how articles are created, about guides for authors, and all this other useful information that was in it. There is one for notability, so however, if I just wrote notability in the search box up here, I would find an encyclopedia article about what notability means. That's no good. So if in the search box at the top, you type Wikipedia, colon, and then that brings up all of the different pages that are hidden behind Wikipedia :space notability. You see this is a completely different sort of space. Wikipedia notability, this is the overall governance of what notability is. This covers the whole encyclopedia. There is rather a lot of information. I don't expect you to have read it all, probably at any point, but certainly not now. I'm highlighting this because this is the landing pad for finding out more information about what notability is and how you can apply it to your own Wikipedia editing works. There is a guiding principle through all of it, which is for all articles that exist on Wikipedia, they need to have received significant coverage in reliable sources that are independent of the subject and is presumed to be suitable for a standalone article within it. So significant coverage means that there's just got to be enough mentions of, for our point of view, the person, what they've done, places that they've been within their life, their career. Reliable means that those sources need to be, well, reliable. It's something that we probably come across with quite a lot through our work as students, as academics, as other people involved in day-to-day professions. You probably know what a reliable source of information is already. The sources need to be secondary, so if I was going to create an article about myself, for example, I couldn't just reference my own biographies that I've written on a blog about where I was born, who I went to school with, how important all my teachers in undergraduate level were, and also the bottom one isn't as important for us because we're generally thinking about individual people, so we don't need to worry about that too much. But as long as you meet these individual criteria, you will have an article that is fit for inclusion within the wider wiki. Now, this doesn't tell us anything about actual individuals. If you scroll back up and on notability, there's subject-specific guidelines that does exist here. We're going to go on to people. So we've now got Wikipedia, notability, people. Again, there's a huge amount of information that exists on here, dividing people into all their different, sort of categories. So the military, entertainers, people involved in crimes. To meet a notability test, you only ever have to have met one of the criteria that we're going to talk about. You don't have to have reached every single one of the points within the list that we're going to mention. So this is what this comes into. These are some of the highest level sort of criteria to meet notability, to mean that you can be included in the encyclopedia. Whether that person received a well-known significant award or honour, or has been nominated for one. So this could be for an OBE, something quite high level like that. Probably within our professions as well, some sort of subject-specific award, like current archaeologist of the year, membership of various societies. That can meet that criteria. Tick, the person is notable, and they can have that article made for them. The person's got a widely recognised contribution as part of the enduring historical record in a specific field. This is probably quite important for us for looking at modern classicists, and in some cases it might be quite difficult to find out the extent of their recognised contribution, but we're going to come back to that just in a moment. Number 3, the person has an entry in the Dictionary of National Biography or a similar publication. There's lots of these sort of things that you can find, sort of lists of interesting, important people within them. And we're going to go on and look at that just now. Okay, so we're going to look at modern classicists. So they may be alive, they may have passed away, but they're all going to come under the same broad category. I'm back here on this page, Wikipedia Notability People, and on the side on here there's a space for academics. If we click on this, so remember you only ever need to meet one of the specific criteria to be notable, and here's a selection of some examples for you for these people to have met the notability. How you find out this information, we'll mention a few spaces for this at the end, but for me number 3 here is really useful. This is pretty low hanging fruit, to be honest, to meet the notability test. And the person's been elected as a member of a highly selective or prestigious scholarly society or association, Fellow of the Royal Society, Fellow of the Society of Antiquaries of London, Fellow of the Royal Historical Society, and I've opened an example up here at the top. Our very own Victoria Leonard, who you met at the start of the day. Of course she's notable and can be included in the biography, but when she was elected to the Royal Historical Society, that automatically ticked that box for being Wikipedia notable and allowed us to create this article within it. Go back to the other one on there. So I mentioned this, that the person's research has had a significant impact in their scholarly discipline, broadly construed. As an example of that, you might want to check out the page of Nina Crummy, for example. This is quite a recent addition to the encyclopedia. Nina Crummy created a format for writing archaeological small finds reports in which objects were categorized by their function rather than by their form and type, and this is really influential still in in the reporting of modern archaeology. So that is an example of meeting that notability test. Something that their work did has got an enduring and long-lasting and important contribution to the field. And as an additional example to that, let's look at an earlier classicist, Catherine Merrill Graydon, died in 1934. So she was involved in editing a journal from its first edition until her retirement. She was involved in corresponding with soldiers during the Second World War and published these letters. And she taught at a lot of individual universities. She had received an honorary doctorate, and she had a very own fan club, which is super cool. And any one of these different features adds into this, having this point that we come back to on notability for academics. Their research has had a significant impact in their scholarly discipline. So she's met that criteria through these individual points. So one of the extra important functions of the WCC is to improve and create new articles for ancient figures, for historical figures as well. Now, there isn't any specific guidance that is available on the wiki for how to create articles for people in the classical period. So what you're coming down to again is the Wikipedia Notability general overall guidelines, that there needs to be enough significant coverage in secondary sources that are reliable and independent of each other. Now, at the top here, I've got an example preloaded. This is Galla, wife of Eucharius, who is a 4th century Roman woman. She's a correspondent of Paulinus of Nola. He addressed Epistola 51 to her directly, and in this the start of the biography here, it says she's a significant late Roman woman because of this very fact. This makes her one of the few late women known by name, so that's already meeting that notability criteria. It's something that you don't have to do, but including that sort of information in the text to make it easier for other editors to see why that particular biography is notable can be a useful little thing to do. So in summary, the notability criteria exist in Wikipedia to guide the sort of information that can be included within the encyclopedia. I hope this introduction to the topic has been useful. If you've got any questions, do ask me in the discussion later on. Thanks.